Hello there, friends. It's Miss Eliza, Children's Librarian at the Waukee Public Library, and we are doing our Elementary Maker Monday inspired by Benjamin Franklin. So for our first Ben Franklin inspired project, we are going to be making mini paper kites. So we all know about the experiment that Benjamin Franklin did with the key on the end of the kite and the lightning and his work with electricity. And we do have a static electricity experiment in the next video for this week. But for this project, we're not so much concerned with electricity. We're just gonna focus on making the little kite. So for this project, the supplies, there are a couple different supplies, but they're all pretty simple things that you probably have at home. So you're gonna need some paper, and if you got a pack from the library, you've got this template on it of a little kite. But basically, if you don't have this, you can just fold a piece of paper in half and draw kind of the kite shape on it, and that will work fine. It doesn't have to be a super precise shape to get some lift in the air, but you just want something where the top sides are a little bit shorter than the long way sides, and it's kind of that diamond shape. So you can draw your own template or use ours. And then another piece of paper, mine has little polka dots on it. You could use a cool, pretty color or a printed paper for the top part of your kite, however you want that part to look. You're gonna need 2 straws, and again, they can be any type of straw. Ours are sort of these compostable plasticky kind, but paper straws work great too for this. And then you're gonna need some string for your kite, and probably about 8 feet or thereabouts. Doesn't have to be super precise again, but you're gonna want the longer piece. So this is about 6 feet that we're gonna use for the string of our kite. And then the tail of our kite is gonna be 2 feet, maybe a little bit less than that. And then we're gonna have some ribbon pieces that will tie on to the end to make the tail of the kite. And then to put everything together, you're gonna want some glue, and you can use any kind, white glue. I'm gonna use glue stick today in the video because it's a little bit easier to work with when you don't have a ton of time to let something dry. You could also use hot glue if you wanted something a little bit more permanent, but whatever you have on hand will be fine. You're gonna need scissors, a little piece of tape, and then if you are drawing your own template, you're gonna want a ruler and a pencil so that you can make straight lines and make that diamond kite shape. Okay, so to get started, I'm just gonna start by gluing our 2 pieces of paper together. So you wanna make sure that you glue the back sides together so the template side shows, and then whatever pattern or color you have shows on the other side. So you can just glue those together. And then normally you would wait for this to totally dry, but again, I'm using glue stick, so I'm just gonna go in and we're gonna cut the pattern out now. Leave the cross in the middle. You just wanna cut around the perimeter, the outside part. All right, so now that we have our little kite shape, and we've got these helpful lines, that's gonna help us with the next steps. So you've got your 2 straws, and you're gonna start with 1 straw and the longer piece of your string, the one that's gonna be the long handle part for your kite. And you're gonna go maybe like 1/3 of the way down, a couple inches down from the top of the straw, and you're just gonna tie this on the end here to attach it. And then you can also put a dot of white glue on this knot to make sure that it stays really secure. Okay. So we've got this, and we're gonna end up gluing this piece right down the middle of our kite piece. So if there's a little bit extra left at the end, we'll trim that off later, but we're going to do a line of glue all the way down that long vertical in the middle of our kite template. And then just right along the line. And then we're gonna press it so that the knot part is closer to the top, and it should fall about where the horizontal line does. It doesn't have to line up that perfect, but just to be a guide. Sorry, I had my glue in the way there. So So you're gonna wanna press this in, and again, to make sure that you give it plenty of time to dry. And I'm gonna trim off this little piece on the bottom. Okay, so now for the second straw, we're gonna cut it into about thirds. It doesn't have to be super precise. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it. That's about a third, and then I'll cut the remaining piece in half to make about another third. And then 2 of these are gonna go right on either side of our kite template. So we're gonna lay out our lines of glue and then stick those 2 pieces. Again, mine's not dry, so it's not staying together super well. In real life, you would go ahead and let this dry further. But you're gonna go ahead and put the 2 extra thirds of the second straw kind of right across the horizontal. So now you've got straw covering both of the lines of the template, and we've still got our super long tail on this end. So that's going to go, you're gonna wanna find the very end of this, and you're just gonna wanna wrap it around the end of this piece of straw. So this is gonna end up being your handle, the part that you'll hold when you're flying your kite or flying your kite. So you're just gonna kind of go to the middle and hold it in place and then wrap the rest of the string right around it. All right, so then the back side of your kite is gonna look kind of like this. You've got your little string and you've got your little straws. And again, mine's still drying, so I'm gonna flip to the one that I already made to show you the last couple steps. So we've got this here, and then to make the little tail of the kite, which really is mostly just for decoration to look cool, it also sort of does help with being able to spot your kite in the sky and also to tell which direction the wind is blowing. So that's kind of what the tails are used for. So you're gonna take the shorter piece of string that you have, and then you're just gonna tape it right by the bottom, just right next to the straw. So you'll just put a little piece of tape there, and then you'll have your long string hanging down, and you can tie on your little bits. And I, again, just kind of did them in an even sort of pattern, about a third of the way down for each one, but you can also add as many or as few as you want. Just remember that the more weight you have on your kite, the more you're gonna have to get, the more force you're gonna have to get to have it actually be moving through the air. So you're gonna wanna not put too very much on the end of the tail of your kite because it'll be really hard to get it up in the air. So once you have your kite all completed and everything is fully dried, then you should be able to fly it. Now, if you have a gust of wind, that would be really great, because what happens is the wind will hit the flat plane, that's the surface of the bottom of the kite, and then kind of help lift it up, because that's kind of pushed back down, and that helps balance the force of gravity. So it'll kind of help lift it up. That's that lift that we get, and that's kind of why you want this broader shape so that the wind has more surface to hit. But if you aren't having a windy day, you can also kind of create your own force by just moving really fast. So if you hold it up like this and then you start running, then the wind that's following from the motion, like you're going through the air, so you'll be able to feel kind of that wind on your face, and that same kind of wind will come and hit your kite too. So you can kind of get it lifted that way. And you can try to, this same exact process can work with kites of any size. So you can make a teeny tiny little kite, or you can make a full-size kite as well, using kind of that same technique. It works especially well with like larger sheets of newspaper can work. It kind of makes a sail. So you can experiment with different thicknesses, weights of paper to see what works best, different types of tails to see what works best. There's a lot of different ways to experiment with lift and force using even just a simple paper mini kite.